Welcome back to the Crypto World channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is currently crossing the 21-week moving average. This is really important for all Bitcoin holders out there, but we have not seen a confirmation of the break just yet. In just a moment in this video, I will be explaining exactly what this actually means. I'll also be going over some momentum indicators just here, showing some new signs in the Bitcoin charts. And on top of that, I'll be covering the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. And on top of all of that, I will be going over the Bitcoin long positions, which are right now taking profits as we speak. All of that and more in this video. So make sure you're watching to the end so that you're not missing out on any of this important information. And if that sounds good to you, just before we jump into it, make sure to leave a like on the video down below. And if you're new to the channel, you might as well subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on for more videos like this one. I honestly appreciate all of the support on the channel at the moment. I can't thank you guys enough. With all of you liking these videos and commenting and even sharing these videos around with your friends, I truly do appreciate all of that support. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's get straight into what this video is about. So right here, we're on the Bitcoin US dollar chart on the daily time frame. And yeah, once again, as you can see, the Bitcoin price is currently trading above the 21-week moving average. If you're zooming into the 4-hour chart, we did actually see some nice resistance along this exact moving average. And of course, on this channel for a while now, I have been talking about this moving average as some major resistance. So the fact that the price saw an initial rejection along that exact moving average actually made sense. But right now, once again, even though we are trading above this moving average, don't get too excited too quickly, because we really need to see some sort of confirmation. So either a major spike in volume, which we have not seen on the larger time frames, like even the daily time frame, for example. Really, no major volume has come in. Volume is pretty much average as we speak. Also, we're still yet to see a daily candle close above this moving average. So of course, if we see this strong daily candle close above the moving average, then that will actually be a bullish sign, a potential confirmation of the breakout to the upside. But preferably, above all else, I would like to see some sort of retest of this moving average. So if the price can come back down and actually bounce along this moving average and use this moving average as support moving forward, then that will be very bullish. And in that case, just there, if we can use that moving average as support and get a bounce off that level, that would be one of the main confirmations that I will be paying attention to moving forward. Because zooming out on the Bitcoin chart, the last time that we actually really broke above this level and came back down for a confirmation was right back in this area on the chart in around the second half of 2020. As you can see just here, we actually broke above this exact moving average in around the end of April, beginning of May 2020. So over a year ago now, we broke above this moving average. And as you can see, right when we had the Bitcoin halving, the third Bitcoin halving, which is this red dotted line just here in around May 2020, as you can see, the Bitcoin price came back down to this moving average, got a perfect bounce along that moving average, started using it as support. And we got a couple more retests later that year as well, a few months later in around September leading into October 2020. Once again, we were using this moving average as support, and that was an extremely bullish sign telling us that we are due for some huge price action to the upside. So once again, that is really what I'm paying attention to right now. If we can use this moving average as support, that is very bullish. Until we see some sort of confirmation coming in on the chart, once again, don't get excited too soon, because of course, it's still a possibility that we can turn around from here. For example, we can always form a massive wick to the upside and close back below the moving average. That's always a possibility, as we also saw previously in 2019. As you can see just here, once again, I've referred to this time period multiple times recently on the channel, because this is probably the time period that is most similar to the current time period in the Bitcoin market. So once again, we had this crash below the 21-week moving average, a lot of sideways price action, and then a huge pump right into the moving average. And as you can see, we only got a quick wick above that moving average, no major daily candle close, no retest of that moving average. And so that was basically a giant rejection along that moving average and sent Bitcoin into another major pullback before we eventually then broke back above that level. So I will actually make it clear that it is only a matter of time that we actually break above this moving average, because obviously this line is actually determined by the Bitcoin price. So even if Bitcoin goes lower, that's only going to drag down the moving average lower. And once again, it's only a matter of time before Bitcoin breaks above that level. So even if we fail this time round, it's eventually going to happen. So some important levels to pay attention to for Bitcoin Bitcoin in the immediate short term is essentially the moving average itself, which is coming in at just below 45,000 US dollars, in around 44,500, give or take. We also, by the way, have the 200-day moving average coming in at just about the same price at roughly around 45,000. If we break back below those levels, then we do have some major supports coming in at roughly around 42,000 down to 40,000, because that red zone just there, that was previous massive resistance for the Bitcoin price. And when we break above massive resistance, that resistance, historically speaking, flips into new support. So I would expect strong support for Bitcoin coming in at those levels, even if we do get a rejection at these levels just here at around 45 to 46,000. And I did mention yesterday that I do have a conditional long position actually placed above 46,000. Right now, at the time of filming this video, it is not triggered just yet. But of course, if the price continues to gain to the upside here, then that will trigger the long position. And once again, I have a pretty tight stop loss just below the moving average at roughly around 44,000 US dollars, give or take, so that we can capture any major move to the upside with only limited risk to the downside. But I thought I should quickly mention that I do not recommend trading for the beginners out there. Trading Bitcoin is actually very risky if you do not really know what you're doing. One of the best strategies for the beginners out there is just to dollar cost average into Bitcoin with a long-term perspective. But if you want to give trading a go, if you have a lot of experience in these markets and you feel like you want to give it a go and you're just starting out, I do actually have a link to a full complete tutorial for beginners out there to show exactly how I place my trades and exactly how I set up long positions, short positions, conditional orders, all of that sort of stuff, stop losses, take profits, everything like that. So once again, you'll find that video linked in the description down below alongside the platform that I actually use to trade, which is Bybit. Now, bringing out the RSI on the Bitcoin daily time frame just here, as you can see, we are potentially forming a small bearish divergence, but this is not confirmed just yet because we have not confirmed any top just here. But yeah, once again, with the price getting into higher highs and the RSI in lower highs, that is a bearish divergence forming. But once again, this can easily be invalidated if the price continues to gain to the upside, because that will actually drag the RSI into a new higher high, which will once again invalidate the bearish divergence. So even though this is something to pay attention to right now, it is also not confirmed. That's why I'm saying that right now, this is definitely a deciding moment for Bitcoin. And it is actually very important that we can begin to hold above these levels now. Now bringing out the MACD indicator on the daily Bitcoin time frame. Once again, as you can see, this does show that the momentum on the daily time frame is still bullish. We are still heading to the upside in terms of the momentum for Bitcoin. And at least on the daily time frame, we're not really showing any signs of slowing down anytime soon in terms of the MACD just here on the daily. Once again, zooming out to the weekly time frame, which by the way, the bigger the time frame, the more significant these indicators actually are. And just here on the weekly time frame, as you can see, we are just about finished all of this bearish momentum to the downside. Once again, this bearish momentum and this death cross in the MACD on the weekly time frame actually crossed at pretty much the exact all-time high at around 65,000 US dollars was when we actually got this death cross and the bearish momentum nearly a month before we actually saw the massive crash. So this indicator right here was a very good sign to take some profits in the short term. And right now we are potentially less than a week away from getting a huge golden cross on the weekly MACD just here. And as you can see quite clearly, the momentum is shifting to the upside. It is not in the green just yet, but at this rate, within the next 1 to 2 weeks max, we will actually enter into the green on the weekly MACD, which is actually very bullish. And it is actually quite likely in this case, if we do see this play out, that the price will continue in an uptrend for at least the next few weeks. Of course, we will always have short-term pullbacks, always have short-term consolidations along the way. Nothing goes up in a straight line because obviously we also saw this short-term cool-off as expected roughly around a week ago. Once again, I was actually expecting that short-term cool-off right there. So keep that in mind as well. Even though a lot of these indicators are showing bullish momentum, that does not mean that we're going to go up in a straight line. Now, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, as you can see, we are still showing a greed signal on this index, but we are actually dropping in value compared to where we were just yesterday. Once again, we were at a 74 on this indicator right here, and now today we are only at a 65. So considering the fact that this is going to the downside, this actually shows that a little bit more fear is starting to step into the markets. But once again, overall, according to this indicator, the majority is still looking greedy. So keep that in mind as well. Normally when we're at extremely greed levels, that is when we're really due for a pullback in the price. And the same goes for when we're in extreme fear, like what we were just last month. When we are in extreme fear, we are seriously due for some upside price action once again. So keep this in mind as well. This could lead to a little bit of a short-term cool-off, but once again, the fact that this is dropping already over the past one day, this is actually a good sign showing that we're not really overheated just yet. Now taking a look at the Bitcoin long positions over on the Bitfinex exchange right here, as you can see, the long positions are going to the downside. This means that a lot of people are actually taking profits on their long positions. For the complete beginners out there, a long position is basically the same as just buying Bitcoin, but usually when you're entering a long position, you are using leverage, which is essentially just borrowed money to maximize your gains if the price actually goes in the right direction, that is. And so if you're entering a long position, that basically means that you are bullish on Bitcoin, you are betting on the price going to the upside. So when all of these long positions are opening just here, that actually means that a lot of people are bullish on Bitcoin. But right now, over the past 2 to 3 weeks, as you can see, considering the fact that over the last 2 to 3 weeks, once again, we have seen a lot of profits taken out of these long positions. This means that traders and investors are starting to get a little bit more fearful, as they might not really believe that this Bitcoin run is really a real run. But yeah, as you can see just here, actually measuring out the amount of long positions that have been closed over the past 2 to 3 weeks, right here, this has been around 17 days since the top just here, and about 9,820 Bitcoin approximately has been closed out of these long positions, which at the current price of Bitcoin actually equates to over $400 million worth of Bitcoin closed out of these long positions over the past 2 to 3 weeks. Now let's go back in history and take a look at some other times that this has actually happened for Bitcoin. As you can see, the last time that this actually happened was in around the middle of April to around the middle of May 2021. Taking a look on the Bitcoin chart, what actually happened during that time period just there, roughly around the middle of April was right here, and around the middle of May was right here. So as you can see, during that time period just there, where the long positions were crashing to the downside, the Bitcoin price overall basically just went sideways. Nothing really happened that was too crazy. Now going to the time before that, the long positions were crashing to the downside here, that was in around the 20th of February, approximately to the end of February, the beginning of March 2021. Going to the Bitcoin chart just here, the 20th of February was right here at this little peak, roughly around 57,500 US dollars, and the end of February was right here at around 45 to 46,000 approximately. So during that time period that the long positions were closing, once again, we did actually see a decent little pullback in the Bitcoin price. So keep that in mind as well, because of course, when you're closing a long position, you actually need to sell Bitcoin to close a long position. So basically, as these long positions are closing, the immediate effect is selling pressure on the market. They have an immediate selling pressure on the market when they are closing. But what's good is the fact that if the Bitcoin price can actually remain at the current levels and sustain the current levels, even though these long positions are closing, this is taking selling pressure away from the markets, because once again, all of these long positions that have now already been closed just here, roughly around $400 million, that used to be selling pressure, but has now already been completed. This has now already been sold. And keep in mind that the last massive downtrend in these long positions just here, that was ranging from the beginning of November 2020. And at this bottom just here, that was the end of January 2021. Taking a look on the Bitcoin chart, the beginning of November was right here when Bitcoin was at roughly around 14,000 US dollars. And the end of January 2021 was right here approximately when Bitcoin was at roughly around 33,000, give or take. So once again, during that entire time period where the long positions were in a huge downtrend, the long positions were crashing to the downside, the Bitcoin price on the other hand was absolutely pumping to the upside. So to summarize this part of the video, basically, if these long positions can head to the downside while the price can sustain the current levels, that is actually a bullish thing, because that means that this potential selling energy energy, this potential selling pressure has been taken away from the markets as these positions have closed. And then eventually, as all of these traders and investors begin to eventually enter long positions once again, anytime they open a new long position, that requires buying Bitcoin. So in the immediate short term, as this is actually happening, yes, this is providing some selling pressure on the Bitcoin price. So yes, we can actually run into a bit of resistance in around that 21-week moving average once again. But the moment that this actually stops, that is when it's likely that the Bitcoin price will blast off. And by the way, I continue to give you guys these updates throughout the day. So if you want to get these updates in real time to stay up to date in the markets at all times, definitely check out the Twitter. The link to my Twitter is in the description down below if you want to get this extra free content. But anyway, that's just about everything I have to say for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video and I hope you got something valuable out of this video. And if you did, make sure to leave a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on for more videos like this one. I honestly appreciate the support as always on these videos. Seriously, the best way to help support the channel is basically just turning up and watching these videos each day. And once again, I try and teach you guys something new every single video and share new information every video as well. But anyway, that's really everything I have to say for this video. Once again, I really hope you enjoyed and I'll see you all in the next video.